Did you miss me? Yes, I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Thursday night, 8:30 in the evening. Is of course the third and long podcast. Once again, the second fastest rising NFL podcast on this side of the Atlantic Ocean. I am, of course, your host, Shane Harris. Above me is Philip Perrins and the birthday boy himself, Mr. Ollie Hope. Gentlemen, how are we? And before we do, I'd just like to welcome any more subscribers or viewers or listeners that have come on. Stick around. I promise you enjoy yourselves. What's happening, boys? How's it going?
It was my birthday yesterday, not today. So birthday's over.
Many happy returns, Ollie Bear.
Yeah, but still, it's still baby hope. It's still many happy returns. How old are you now? 20? Can I guess? 23.
No, I'm older than 23.
Shut, 24. You still got mother's milk around your face. What? How?
I'm 25.
25 years old. That is well done. Well, did you get anything nice for your birthday?
Just a baby.
I did actually. I got some frames that I could put my signed Devo Samuel and signed Christian McCaffrey shirt in.
Amazing. And you'll hang them on the wall next to the number 6 flag that we win off, hopefully in February time as well. It was Baby Hope's birthday yesterday. I just want a quick well done to all of our A-level students and some listeners as well that have worked really, really hard over the last 2 years for their A-levels, and also going from that COVID into A-levels, not really having, because these are the second group of students, gents, that went through to their sixth forms without having to sit a GCSE exam. So it's all the CAGs and the tags. Hello, Ollie Bear.
Host is watching.
And so yeah, basically, before you go on Twitter and you read the crap that Jeremy Clarkson or Jake Humphries or any celebrity goes out and goes, oh, well, I didn't get any of my A-levels and I ended up being a millionaire. Don't listen to them. You've worked ridiculously hard, and regardless of what happens next, whether or not you go into like a new job, or you go to university, or you start a different apprenticeship, or it takes you somewhere completely different, you have worked really hard, and what you get from your A-levels are thoroughly deserved. Okay, so well done to everybody.
Just before we came on air, we were actually reminiscing about our own A-level results day, weren't we? You know, I'm actually young enough to remember mine. These two.
I'm not.
Sorry. It's not like they were like last century. I literally got my A-levels in the 21st century. Okay.
Oh, I thought you got yours in 1899.
How old do you think I am? Bear in mind, Ollie, I'm only 6 years older than you. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would have been in sixth form as you would have been coming up into year 7. And if you tried to crap with me, mate, I would have clapped you back to primary school.
I think it's just Ollie and Shane that got theirs.
Yeah, I was going to say, when I was doing my GCSEs, I was doing them on slate and chalk.
Levels, okay? We did A-levels, they did O-levels. Okay?
O-levels? Me, I very much doubt it. Conspicuous by his absence as well is our brother in arms, Mr. Oliver Butler Henderson. He is currently sunning himself with his beautiful partner in Greece. We hope they have a great time, and we can't wait to get back.
Flying the third and long flag.
Thank you for the happy birthday wishes, Leona.
Well done, Leona. Is Leona a friend of the? Do we know this, Leona? I know last time that I spoke to a new person on the pod, I got moaned at because apparently I was favoriting them.
Anyway, where are we starting?
We were starting with football being back with every team.
Yes.
Did anybody watch the preseason games?
I watched the Niners game.
I bet you're happy with that.
No.
We'll get to that.
No.
We'll get to the Niners game.
There wasn't really much. I thought the Jags game was a massive standout. The touchdown that I can't remember who the quarterback was. Wasn't he playing CFL? And he got hit by 3 Cowboys defenders, and just as he was about to be sacked, he threw this pitch perfect pass as he's literally falling down for a touchdown for the Jaguars. That was my highlight. I think I sent you guys the video as well in the chat, didn't I?
Yes.
It was Nathan Rourke, by the way.
Nathan Rourke. Yeah, he's going to happily sit behind QB1 in Jacksonville, and he'll make a good living from that.
Lee Shaw said, "Welcome back, rated R Hagler style."
Thank you, very nice. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers, bud.
The thing I like to look at was the three main rookie quarterbacks. So CJ Stroud, second pass was picked off. Anthony Richardson had one of his first passes picked off, and the Panthers were shut out by the Jets.
So the 49ers weren't.
Yeah, surprising.
The San Francisco 49ers were not the worst team that weekend.
No. I mean,
the
1 point we did score was very, very lucky, but...
What do you mean? That's exactly how Kyle drew it up.
Well,
pinball football.
Kyle drew it up for the ball to be deflected into Ross Dwelly's hands.
Yes. Because he's a genius, and he shouldn't be questioned.
Boys, can I give you a number?
I've already got your number.
24. That is the amount of preseason games that the Baltimore Ravens have won since 2015 continuously.
Oh, well,
yes,
here we go.
Round of applause for the Baltimore
Thank you very much. Undefeated.
Winning the really relevant games.
Christ.
As Phil said, I think he said it on the podcast last week.
I did.
Said it before we go on the air.
I did.
In 2008, the Lions went 0-16. However, they went 4-0 in preseason.
As I said, we haven't lost a game since 2015. We beat the Eagles 20 points to 19 with Justin Tucker doing Justin Tucker things.
How many
60-yard field goal? Just nothing. Even he kicked in, he was like...
How many Super Bowls have you won in that time period of going undefeated in the preseason friendlies? I just want to know. I mean, my NFL knowledge is particularly good. I've been watching America's game again, but I can't seem to remember the Super Bowl that the Ravens won between 2015 to now. Do you remember?
So what we're learning is the Ravens B team is good.
But their A team goes out in the first round of the playoffs. That's what we've established.
But I will say one thing. Firstly, Phil, that's for you. I will say one thing.
Is it that Lamar Jackson's overrated? Is that what you're going to say?
No, you don't be daft. That Jalen Carter looks an absolute beast.
Oh, yeah, Jalen Carter.
First play, he literally just made Ben Cleveland look like a turnstile. It was absolutely insane. The Eagles have got a pick on their hands there.
I watched Lamar Jackson, and I genuinely wish that RG3 had a better career. Because RG3 was so good. Like his first two seasons before Shanahan really ruined him, he was amazing. Like he was really good. And then Kirk Cousins did like a weird Wiccan spell and had his leg broken. One's in the league now and one isn't.
I mean, there's a lot of surprises.
One of them does college commentary.
Exactly, and I wonder which one would prefer to still be in the league, and who was the better quarterback out of the two.
I mean, there was a lot of shockers, like with preseason, with the likes of the Packers beating the Bengals, the Falcons beating the Dolphins. I would say the Chargers beating the Rams, but is that a shock? I don't think it is.
Do you know what though? Like, I was looking at that, and I didn't think Jordan Love played that well for the Packers. I didn't, and it's like what you said minutes ago about like the Ravens B team being quite good. I thought for the majority of that half, the Packers played their A team. They played their starters for the most part, the ones you expect to play. And I didn't think they were that amazing. But then you're also going up against a Bengals team that weren't playing their starters. So they did turn them over. And Burrow, the injury that we heard in training camp isn't as bad as it was first thought of. But yeah, the Bengals against the Packers in a regular season game doesn't end up with the Packers winning. So
no,
in terms of like the preseason, we can say about like certain individual players having standouts, like you said, but it's very hard to go, oh, these teams are going to play really well, because we can use the examples of the Lions in 2008. We can use the examples of the Ravens being 24-0 in preseason, but they don't seem to bring that consistency always into their regular season. So
yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you know this, Shane, or this is a genuine question, not a mock. What's the furthest into the season the Ravens have actually got in that time period?
Firstly, if you want to mock me, just do it. You know I don't mind.
I'm not trying to mock you.
You know.
It's a genuine question.
Second round of the playoffs.
Yeah.
that's as far as we've got. Because there was that season in 2019 where we won something like 12 games on the spin, and we lost in the first round of the playoffs to Titans.
Lamar's MVP season.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, a lot of this preseason thing. Basically, the reason for preseason games is to knock the rust off, try different plays, see what works, and you've got people basically playing for their jobs.
I would like to quickly touch on the Niners game, as this is the only game I watched the whole way through.
Please.
So Trey Lance played the first half and didn't exactly play well. I mean, I'll give him that the O-line didn't give him much protection and he was pressured a lot, but he didn't look NFL ready. And Sam Darnold came in the second half and, in my opinion, looked a lot more competent.
Okay.
I mean, the whole of the Niners were poor. Isaiah Oliver had an absolutely terrible game, but I'm not going to go onto the defense. But in my opinion, Sam Darnold looks more likely to be the QB2 than Lance. And I know there's something you want to say about this too, Phil.
I mean, you're wearing your Trey Lance jersey right now. Okay.
Yes,
I was very tempted to also put mine because I was going for my wardrobe the other day, and when he got drafted, I bought 2 Trey Lance jerseys. One that I could wear regular, and one that I would have maybe in a frame one day or sell on when he becomes the superstar that we all thought he would be. And I still haven't took the tag off the one that I intended to do something with. And I don't think we can really overestimate the effect that he's had 2 pretty bad injuries in the 2 full season that he's had in San Francisco. Now, we can talk about the fact that, yeah, he was a 1 season starter in college and got drafted into the NFL. So he hasn't really got that much tape. He didn't really have that much learning period of being a starter in a program. But he's had 2 very, very intense injuries that cost him essentially a place in the team. I mean, he would have been the starter for last season.
Are you talking about the finger injury?
What, from his season 1?
Yeah.
But he had multiple injuries that season. Then he broke his leg at the beginning of last season when he would have been the starter. Now, there's lots of things that have come out about his mechanics. He's footing. He doesn't do his reads. He takes too long in the pocket. Even like stupid things that have come out in terms of teammates not necessarily getting on with him. But then you have like people like Raheem Mostert, who has posted stuff on his Instagram backing Trey Lance, and I do genuinely believe this, and we see this with our English footballers, and believe me, when a certain footballer returns to a club from Manchester soon, it will royally hit the fan. But I do genuinely think there's been so much abusive media scrutiny that's come.
Can you go back to
Trey Lance.
that football thing, because I have no idea who you're talking about.
There's a certain Manchester United football player that's going to be opened back to the club with open arms soon.
Oh, is that going to happen? I thought
there's going to be murders,
and it's going to be horrifying in football stadiums. If you ever seen like the effigies that they did for David Beckham in France '98 when he got sent off, when they were burning England shirts and dummies and hanging dummies of David Beckham at football stadiums. I'm not saying this Manchester United player deserves the same, but considering that's what people did for David Beckham when he got carded in a football game, this footballer, who I'm not going to name for legal reasons, it should be more intense. Well, I don't want to get sued for character defense.
Defamation.
It should be more intense. But like Trey Lance has been more or less abused, and it's not very often. And I said this off air that I agree with Grant Cohn, because Grant Cohn is a 49ers beat writer, and he's a massive troll. And he says things to just wind the fan base up. He's essentially the 49ers equivalent to Piers Morgan, where Piers Morgan in this country will say things to wind people up, to troll them. I hate the term that journalists aren't journalists anymore. They're journalists to be trolls. And I just hate it. It's just not what the profession needs. But he does bring up a point of he defends Trey Lance quite a lot, and he's very critical of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch for how they've actually dealt with him in this situation. And Kyle gives off the impression in press conferences that he doesn't want Trey Lance. 100% doesn't want Trey Lance. He gives that impression. And the 49ers media that covers it bash this lad so much, considering that he's had 2 injuries. He's still even though he's been in the league for 2 years, he's still one of the youngest players in the league. So he's still developing, and we drafted him knowing he would be raw talent, that we would have to develop him. Don't forget, the 49ers drafted him and not Mac Jones or Wilson or Fields or who else went? Not that we had Trevor Lawrence anyway, not that we would have had a chance drafting him because Jags were always going to do it. But we drafted him knowing we would have to develop him and it would not be the finished article for some time. So 2 years in, 2 pretty horrible injuries that's derailed his momentum. And they would all be bashing him, saying that he's not there. Well, he's shown improvements. He looks even though he didn't have a good showing the weekend, and I'll be the first to admit this, he still looks better than he did against the Bears, at the beginning of last season. Don't forget, he beat the Texans as well when Jimmy Garoppolo went down in his first season. Like, I watched that game. I remember he played really well in that game, and we needed that game to get into the playoffs. So it's not like he's not talented. I just don't think Kyle has gone all in now on Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's going to be QB1. I don't think Brock Purdy's ready. I don't think Brock Purdy's ready to come back from his injury. And I do, again, agree with Grant Cohn that he doesn't look like he's going to be ready enough to start week 1. Trey has improved. I think Sam Darnold, we know what Sam Darnold brings to the NFL, though, because we're his third team. We're his third team since he's been drafted. He got bounced by the Jets. He got bounced by the Panthers, and we picked him up because Kyle Shanahan likes bringing failed quarterbacks into the organization like Josh Rosen, and trying to give them a second chance. But I just think it's abusive what Trey Lance is going through. Is he right? No. Is he perfect? No. He's still young. He's still developing. We drafted him knowing this would happen. We did. And I just think I just feel really sorry for the lad when he goes out there, because I genuinely feel he's been set up to fail now, just to give him an out. That's me done.
I do agree.
I'll make
with
this
you.
very quick. Go on, bud.
That's I did say this in the pre-show, but I follow a lot of 49ers media.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I see a lot of the Trey Lance bashing. Do you not think maybe all the other quarterbacks that have failed recently get bashing from their media? We just don't necessarily see it because we don't follow those teams.
I mean, do in Chicago, do they bash Justin Fields, or they praise him like he's the second coming of Jim McMahon?
Yeah, but Justin Fields has performed better than Trey Lance has.
Absolutely, because he was drafted knowing that they would have to mold him, develop him, and he was always going to go in as QB1. We drafted Trey Lance knowing he was going to sit. We did. Let's be honest. Shock horror. This has happened in the NFL countless times. Steve Young got brought in to sit behind Joe Montana. Aaron Rodgers got drafted to sit behind Brett Favre. It happens in football. Tom Brady had to sit behind Drew Bledsoe. Eli Manning, was there when they brought in Jones, and Jones sat for the season. It's not like this doesn't happen in the NFL. I just think he's just been done dirty by the coaching staff.
I think it's a case of also... I think it's like you were saying about the coaching staff and the fact John Lynch has effectively mentally moved on from him. Mm-hmm. My comparison with this is, for whatever reason, you've only got to look at Harry Maguire. He's exactly the same. The coach don't want him there. If there's no faith in you by the higher ups or the coach, the best thing for you to do is move on. You know.
Oh, agree. 100% agree.
And then, still sticking with the preseason results, there's another result that sticks out to me. Sorry, Ollie, we love you, but the Texans beat you. 20 points to 9. I didn't think you'd be happy about that one, but it's a good job. It's preseason. Do you want to move on now to preview the week 2 of the preseason?
Yeah, because there's a couple of really good tasty games. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Horrible cough today.
Oh, sorry, Ben.
I'm
Go on.
the game tonight actually is the one that I'm looking forward to the most. I'm really interested in seeing the Browns and the Eagles. I say this every week. I hate Deshaun. I hate Deshaun with everything that he stands for. But there's no denying his talent. He shouldn't be playing in the NFL, but as we're about to find out in our English game, if you're good enough, it doesn't matter what crimes you've committed. I do think Cleveland has some really good players on that offense and a really good defense, and Philadelphia just going from strength to strength. And I do generally think in the NFC, it's going to be a battle between San Francisco and Philadelphia once more. So that's my game that I'm looking forward to.
I've not looked into this, but are they playing starters? Do we know?
No idea. If I'm being honest, I'm just looking from the schedule and how I looked at the highlights from last week. I know Philadelphia are still using quite a lot of their rookies and their free agents that they brought in because they're still tinkering with their sides. But yeah, that's the one that I'm going to be watching tomorrow morning when I wake up and look at the highlights.
I think as the weeks roll on, as the preseason rolls on, it's going to be a case of they're going to slowly integrate starters. So by week 4, you should be playing your first team.
Yeah.
Anything stand out to you, Ollie? Any interesting games catch your eye?
Yeah, the one that catch my eye is the actual one with the spelling mistake. But apart from that, the one I'm actually quite interested in, I don't know why it's speaking to me, but Bucks at Jets, because I think Aaron Rodgers is going to play a quarter.
Yeah, that'd be quite nice to watch him. Is he rocking the number 8 jersey now?
He is rocking the number 8 jersey. Yeah.
So do you think that's a throwback to his favorite ever quarterback?
Who is his favorite quarterback?
Steve Young.
Maybe it is.
He's a San Francisco 49ers fan, Shano. Like when he got drafted,
it might well be them, but it might well be.
So yeah, him and Tom Brady are 49ers fans, and I think Tom Brady is very much a Joe Montana is better than me kind of stance. But Aaron Rodgers grew up watching Steve Young.
The thing that makes me laugh about that Aaron Rodgers being a 49ers thing is he was expecting to go to the 49ers on draft day. And do you know who was the offensive coordinator of the 49ers when they passed on Aaron Rodgers?
Oh God, was it the Oh, go on. I do know this as well.
It was Mike McCarthy.
Oh.
And then he
fell quite far.
Yeah.
Then he went to go be head coach of Green Bay when Aaron Rodgers was quarterback, and there always seemed to be a bit of a frosty relationship between the two. And I don't think he ever really forgave McCarthy for passing on him.
Yeah. And we ended up with, just imagine if roles were reversed and we had A-Rod and they took Alex Smith, man. How Alex Smith was in the NFL for as long as he was is an absolute joke.
Alex Smith was a good quarterback.
No, he wasn't. Troy Smith was better than him.
Everybody bashes Alex Smith because he gets
for reasons. I've watched the game where, was it like in the third quarter? And they booed him. Okay? You could literally hear the 49ers fans. It was a home game. And they booed him to the point where they had to take him out of the game. Because they wanted David Carr in instead. David Carr!
Alex Smith was a good quarterback, but he always got compared to Aaron Rodgers. And I've said this on the podcast before, and I'll say it again. In terms of talent alone, I think Aaron Rodgers is the best.
Okay, but now if we do hindsight, right, instead of like going at the beginning of their NFL career to now, all right, who would you want in your team? Would you take Aaron Rodgers or would you take Alex Smith, knowing what we know now?
I take Aaron Rodgers every day.
Of course you would.
Yeah. And we should have done it when we could have drafted him. Alex Smith did nothing in San Francisco, and we traded him to Kansas, and he did nothing there.
But at the end of the day, right, if wishes were fishes, the world would be an ocean. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Hindsight being what it is, you never have known, and that's why we love draft day. Nobody's a sure thing.
I have backed every NFL quarterback, and I've had a Montana jersey. I've had lots of Steve Young jerseys. I've got a Jeff Garcia jersey, right? I
Steve Young
haven't
pajamas.
had.
Steve Young
Was
pajamas.
I don't have Steve. I've got Ultimate Warrior pajamas that I had when I was little, but that's a different one.
No way.
I know. There's a quarterback that the 49ers had in between Jeff Garcia and Alex Smith that I would never, ever, ever get a jersey for.
Who was it?
I don't want to tell you because I
Come
don't
on.
want to bring
Come
his
on.
name up. I don't want to bring his
Oh,
name
wait.
up.
I think I know who it is. I think I know who it is.
I don't want to
I
bring his
honestly
name
don't.
up.
I started following when Alex Smith was a quarterback.
It was.
Ollie, there's a reason why he calls him a very mediocre quarterback, because he's actually had to watch him every week.
Think about it. Which quarterback do I hate the most?
I know who it is.
In the history of ever. In the history of
Give
ever.
him a clue. He's got a Super Bowl ring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a Super Bowl ring that Ray Lewis had to kill someone for to then gift to Dilfer.
Oh, speaking of play, what's the word I'm looking for? Defamation.
But he did. Oh, and OJ.
Anyway, moving on.
OJ with the glove. Anyway,
moving on.
Just in saying she's a little worried after the Rams game last week. It will be interesting. Carr to bring his A game. So you have the Saints to beat the Rams this week then?
Yeah.
Leona is a Saints.
The Rams got the Raiders this week.
I will say. I mean, I know he's gone through a massive character rebuild in the offseason since being let go from the Raiders, but Carr does look physically in the best shape of his life. And from like some of the stuff that I've seen in training camp, he does look really good, and I really think the Saints will probably hit the playoffs this year. I think there's still a lot of holes in that squad.
Saints have got the Saints are in the dumpster that is the NFC South this year.
Yeah, and he looks good, and I don't think there'll be as much pressure on him in New Orleans as there was in, say, Vegas. I wouldn't.
And now they got someone decent to throw in. Now they got someone decent to throw into Chris Olave and Michael Thomas, providing they stay fit. They definitely have got enough.
Nobody will throw into Michael Thomas because he'll be back off injured by week 2.
As I said, providing they stay fit, they got a lot of talent on both sides of the ball.
Leona, just a quick one, only because she's listening. Where do you see the Saints finishing this season? Like, do you see them wild card, divisional round? Like, where do you see them getting to? Because I think they are the strongest in their division, and I think they have a really good. I don't think they'll get as far as the NFC Championship game, but I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. They'll finish with a winning record.
I think they're going to get clapped by the Vikings in the wild card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I said that when we were doing the predictions.
I can do that.
There's a game that sticks out to me this week.
Cowboys
and Seahawks. Yeah, Cowboys and Seahawks. Seahawks won in week 1 and the Cowboys didn't. But for some reason, everyone's massively high on the Cowboys. You've only got to look at their Madden rating of 88 to show there's not just the league. And I know Madden's not the be-all and end-all, but they got a rating of 88, and they drafted well.
Leona said divisional. In answer to your question, Phil.
Yeah, I mean that sounds fair. That generally sounds fair. I think that's respectful.
Yeah, I can see them having a home tie against the Vikings, and I mean, historically, the Vikings versus the Saints in the playoffs has been quite a good game.
It's a bit of a grudge match, hasn't it, in recent times?
May I reference the miracle in Minneapolis as an example?
Yes. I think
just while we're talking about that play, Marshall Lattimore had an absolute nightmare on that play.
Oh, I'd have to watch it again. Oh,
Leona just said, "Rude. I'd never live a Vikes victory in wildcard." Yes, that would be quite interesting because Leona's the partner of our ex-host Tom, who is an avid Vikings fan.
I will say, after the whole bounty gate and some of the suspect things that the Saints have done, I was properly remember watching that game, really, really wanting the Vikings to win because it's been a long time coming. I think the stink of the Vikings being not hated anymore has kind of gone away now. I think not the Vikings, sorry, the Saints. Because just from like an NFL fan point of view, Bountygate and how incredibly unlikable Peyton is as a coach really did, I think, the organization a massive disservice. But I think it's time to bring the love back to New Orleans again. Get a big part of jambalaya.
Do you not think Peyton did his time for Bountygate though?
No.
He could have killed someone. You know,
he could have killed
the
someone,
fact that he's basically taking money over, like, basically safety, player safety.
He did.
Can't get away with it.
He created a Deadpool where literally they were like, putting players' names up on a board and putting price tags on them, and kind of like saying, we're playing Brett Favre in the NFC Championship game. Whoever takes him at the game, 10 grand. Whoever stops Adrian Peterson, 5 grand. That's ridiculous, man. Like it's essentially putting him. But yeah, even though he came out and he was pleading ignorance and all that crap, no, I'm sorry, he shouldn't be allowed back into the NFL. And it makes me again, my hatred is going to go towards the Browns and the Broncos this year in the NFL because I don't like the Broncos as an organization. I don't like Peyton. I don't like Russell. I just hate them with a passion.
Well, Phil, that's funny. That's funny. Who do the Niners have in week 2 of preseason on Sunday night?
I mean, preseason means nothing, especially since we're going to play Donald.
It means a lot.
But there's still a lot of stars that aren't going to be playing this weekend. I mean, George Kittle might get a snap. Bosa's disappeared off the face of the earth and probably might not even start week 1 now, they're reporting, because
he's probably under Ollie's bed, tied up, I expect.
I saw Matt Mayako's report yesterday that said that the Niners are confident they'll get it done in the next 7 to 10 days.
And this is the thing.
I mean, we've been confident that we're going to be doing it for like 5 weeks now. So
yeah. How's Big Phil? I don't know who Big Phil is.
What do you mean?
How's Big
Rodney Sam Smart.
Oh, my buddy.
Big Phil.
All right, Matt, what's happening?
Do you know who Big Phil is?
Oh, who's Big Phil?
Yeah, but there, this side.
Oh, it's you apparently.
Teacher, that's
sorry.
you daft.
Oh, sorry, that's just not how my name's spelled. So when people, when people put that and they don't actually spell my name right, I go,
oh, right. It's all right. Yeah, I know who it is. All right.
Leona said, but I think this is about you saying bring that back to New Orleans. Yes, bayonets for everyone. Let's show the Saints love and forgiveness for a team who had a bad leader.
Yes. And I miss Drew Brees. Like, Drew Brees was one of my favorite quarterbacks.
And Popf NFL. Actually, I'll let you pronounce that, Shane.
Popf Elias.
Yeah, Popf NFL Camry.
I said, I hope we do the double against the Saints this season.
He's a Falcons fan, by the way. Yeah. So, boys, what do you think of the Falcons preseason? How far do you think they're going to go in the season? Do you think they'll have a good season, bad season? And Popf, if you want to come in and sort of, comment on what the gentlemen say, you're more than welcome to do so.
I think the Falcons are going to be the biggest threat to the Saints this year in what is a dumpster fire of an NFC South.
Okay.
Provided Desmond Ridder does develop in the way I think he will.
I'm a big Bijan Robinson fan. I think he's going to be really, really good. I think they drafted really well, and he's going to light up. He's going to light up the league, and it wouldn't surprise me. He's going to probably be my dark horse for Rookie Offensive Player of the Year.
I think they need to get Kyle Pitts back on the ball. I want to see more Kyle Pitts.
Just a quick question. How is somebody that was drafted 5th overall a dark horse for Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, but you know what it's like. There's so much, like there's so many other people in that mix.
Yeah,
that could take it.
Yeah, I just don't think he's a dark horse. I think he's probably one of the favorites.
No? Mm-hmm. Well, in which case, I hope so.
Okay, then. All right, back to you in the studio.
Rodney said should have beat the Bengals.
Who's on a room? Yeah. So what we've previewed week 2 then.
Yeah, so we're moving on
Can
to
I
the running
go on?
backs with new homes.
Yes, yes. So Ezekiel Elliott is made our own Ollie Butler Henderson very happy by joining his beloved Patriots. I think it's only a year, boys, isn't it?
Yeah, it's only a year deal.
How do you think he's gonna? Do you think he's gonna fit in Bill's offense? Do you think he's gonna be like? Do you think he's gonna be running back 2? I imagine behind Ramondre.
I assume Ramonde will be RB1 and
Mm,
Zeke will be RB2, but I also feel
yeah.
like Zeke will be a bit of a fantasy killer because I feel like he'll be the red zone threat.
Oh, yeah. That's not a bad shout. What do you
So
reckon,
somebody's
Phil?
saying the Falcons should have beaten the Bengals. I'm not sure.
I didn't know you were a Falcons fan, Roon. Next time I see you, we have a chat about that.
So yeah, that my opinion is that Zeke will be a bit of a touchdown scorer, but not too much else.
That's basically that's all they need him for, innit? They need him to get points on the board. And the fact he's going to be, like you said, he'd be a red zone threat, just to be a case of, yeah, use the ball, run for 10 yards. Easy enough.
Yeah, the Patriots will use him how the Seahawks used Marshawn Lynch in the latter parts of his career there, where it was just like 5-10 yards. Like, we're not expecting you to run half, when you're not Christian McCaffrey, but if I hand you the ball, 5-10 yards. You're not Adrian Peterson,
That's all you need.
5-10 yards.
Do you think it'd be his last big payday?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, he's kind of living
So,
on borrowed time anyway with his age and where he's at now anyway.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
me and
mad.
Ollie referenced this a lot when it was just us two and before Tom left. The Darwin Cook's no, not Darwin Cook. We're moving on to that in a minute. Ezekiel Elliott has not been the same since he held out and had those legal issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
It affects, yeah, it does affect. It affects people mentally in different ways. There's one thing to think that you are something, and then something knocks you, and it's hard to get back to the way you were.
Should we move on? Should we move on to the other AFC East team that have a new running back?
Yes.
Go on.
And I think this one is more substantial because as much as I would love to see Brees Hall and Michael Carter be RB1s, this guy I think will be RB1 for the Jets, and his name is
Dalvin Cook. Yep. I'm a big Dalvin Cook fan. As I've always said, if I wasn't a Ravens fan, I'd be a Vikings fan. Because I think he's brilliant. But then these days, as we've seen with the running back market as it is, when you get in 27, 28, 29, you're pretty much on the scrap heap. So time's not on his side. But the fact that he's going to an emerging offense with Rodgers, with everything else they've got on his side, I personally think now the Jets are probably again, dark horse for a Super Bowl run.
And if memory serves, it's a 1 year, $8 million deal, which I think is a steal for someone with Dalvin Cook.
100%.
I mean, we also have to commend as well, and I have bashed him, and I will stand accused. Again, media perception. Since going to, I mentioned this last week as well, since going to the Jets, we're seeing a completely different side of Aaron Rodgers. It's like he's using this to reintroduce himself back to the NFL world, where, I mean, there's been talk coming out of the Jets that he's given up a lot of his money and he's restructured a lot of his contract for the Jets
to
bring these players in.
He took a $35 million pay cut.
Yeah. Yeah. To go to the Jets and also build this team. So when I mentioned like a while ago, like Tom Brady going to like Tampa Bay to build that super team that won that Super Bowl, and I said Aaron Rodgers doesn't have the same thing in him because he's not the same type of player, I think I was wrong, and I'm kind of slowly changing my opinion to the point where I nearly bought an Aaron Rodgers 8 New York Jets jersey the other day. Nearly.
Did you?
Over the 2.5 years that this podcast has been going, me, Ollie, and every other host that's been on this show have buried Aaron Rodgers. However, I know my opinion's changing. Phil, you said your opinion's changing.
Yeah, it is. It is, honestly.
I feel like he is changing the opinion in the NFL.
Yeah.
I love the way in Hard Knocks episode 1 where he was walking the other 3 quarterbacks through how to break down the huddle and how to do this, and how to do that, and answering their questions and things like that.
Mm.
And the media perception of Armwood, I feel like is arrogant, moody, and I don't feel like the media perception of him would do that.
Yeah, and I think that might be a lot of how he wants to present himself. I think a lot of that might come down to being friends with Pat McCaffrey, and Pat McCaffrey doing a really, really good job on his podcast to show his friend, present his friend in a good light. He might just have some really good people around him. I mean, we don't really know what the black hole could have been like in Green Bay, where Green Bay is not a particularly big place, is it?
No.
It's very I think Green Bay and Pittsburgh are really small cities for like the size of the teams that they actually have around them. So maybe him going to New York has been completely different. I mean, not New York, but New Jersey, because that's where the Jets live. It's a really good opportunity for him.
What do you think about this Rodgers situation, Shane?
I think he's going to breathe. He is the missing piece for the Jets. As we know, Zach Wilson struggled last year, and they needed someone of a leader, a veteran, a former MVP multiple times to come in.
Four
I
times.
think you grab this Jets team by the scruff of the neck, and the fact that they've drafted well, they've brought in Dalvin Cook as well. Sauce Gardner was a revelation in his first year. It's not easy for people to come into the league and hit the ground running, but he did. And as I said, I think that they're dark horses for a Super Bowl run. If he can just sort of stop being, for lack of a better term, eccentric, then so eccentric as he is, I'm trying to be
Nothing
nice.
wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
The
last time the Jets won a Super Bowl was with probably the most eccentric quarterback that ever was, Joe Namath, Broadway Joe. And that was the last time they
times have changed.
I just like to say I am excited to see Garrett Wilson with a proper quarterback this year.
Yeah. Can I mention Baltimore's cornerback issues?
Yes, please do.
Yes.
So Marlon Humphrey is out for the beginning of the season. I'm a massive, massive Marlon Humphrey fan. He's out by the looks. He'll miss about 1 or 2 games. And the fact that also out in the cornerback position is Rock Ya-Sin, who we brought in on free agency, which was diagnosed 2 weeks ago. Arthur Mollay, that we brought in from the Steelers, he's also injured. Jalen Armour-Davis, they are sort of struggling for fitness to come back. All we've got is Caillou Blue Kelly and Jaden Ferguson, I believe. That's all we've got, and we're struggling. So I don't know.
I did notice that Rap Sheet tweeted about 20 minutes before the show started. I can't remember his name, but there was a veteran.
Ronald Darby.
Ronald Darby did visit the Ravens today.
Yeah.
And just quickly,
we're obviously going to.
Nathan Jones has commented to say, I think the only way the Jets get to the playoffs is if Tua gets injured again.
Nathan Jones, is that the ex-Southampton and Luton manager? Sorry, I just had to get the charger very quickly. I didn't realize he was a big fan of the show.
What do you? Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you agree with? No. Sorry, bud. Do you agree with what Nathan said then?
I think the only way the Jets get to the playoffs is if Tua gets injured again. No.
So I think both the Dolphins and the Jets are going to be in the wild card.
Just a quickie. Why are we so certain that the Bills are going to be good?
Why are we so certain?
Why are we so certain that the Bills are going to run away with the division?
Well, we're not certain because nothing's for certain. But I mean,
I understand. But yes, there's going to be such a lot of smoke around, the Jets and whether or not Miami can keep it going and whatever. But I said this a couple of weeks ago. It might have been last week. The Bills are in this window where it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller because of who they've got on that roster.
Yes, but I feel like for me, they still have 1 more year left. And
we'll have to see.
I'm also very excited about James Cook this year. Right. I feel like he's going to kick on and be a very good second-year player. We talk about players making the leap. I feel like James Cook will be one of those players.
We'll see when we get to him. But yeah, Bills versus Jets is going to be a tasty game when he comes.
Yes. So you were talking about the cornerbacks of the
I
Ravens.
was, yeah. As you said, we've got had visit with Ronald Darby today. Hopefully, we can bring him in because there's not a lot left in free agency. I know
Go,
a
go and
lot of the
get
best. Oh, go on.
go and get Josh Norman. He did so well
God,
for the
God, don't get
Lions
Josh
last
Norman.
season.
A lot of the best players, but the all-pro players have already got their teams, and we're in the second week now of preseason. So I think I was recently on a different podcast across the pod with our good friend Andy Davis, and I predicted that the Ravens will have, something like I think I said something along the lines of 14-3 the season. If we don't have any fit corners, then we're going to get torched. It's not good. So hopefully Marlon's injury is nothing. I think John Harbaugh said that he had an operation today and he should be back sooner rather than later. But it's better to have these injuries now in August than December.
Yes.
When you're in the middle of a playoff run or something like that. So yeah, I just can't wait to get everybody fit again. But that's the worst thing about this sport. It's so physical that one injury, a couple of injuries can derail your whole entire season. As you guys know, because there was a couple of years ago where the Niners got battered by injuries and their season fell apart, and ours has on multiple occasions as well.
That week 2 game where the turf at Meadowland maimed our entire team. I remember we had a game against the Packers, and you looked at the starting offense against the Packers in the NFC Championship game, and then the starting offense of the Packers the next season. None of the skill position players were the same.
So what are we thinking about the rookie quarterback starters? We know Anthony Richardson is starting for the Colts over Minshew Mania, brother. So he's starting. You've got Bryce Young starting for the Panthers. How do you think he done in his first game? In his first
well, I mean,
couple of
plays? They
they
got shut out by the Jets. That sort of says
so
everything.
Not well. So not well. Not the best of starts then. And who else?
CJ Stroud.
That's the one.
That's right. Yeah. I watched the first 10 minutes of the game. And in that time, CJ Stroud threw one pass to Tank Dell and then another pass that was picked off.
As we've always said, it's not easy to go from college to the NFL. I read a tweet. From Kurt Warner not so long ago, and people are saying about the quarterbacks being nervous for their preseason games, and he said, "Of course they're going to be nervous. This is all they've ever wanted. This is their first game in an NFL uniform, whether it's a league game or not. Of course they're going to be nervous."
Nathan, who I know is a Rams fan, has come up and said, honestly, Stetson Bennett had the best rookie first preseason game. I have to admit, Nathan, I
saw that.
I've not watched the Rams offense's first preseason game, but I mean, you scored 17 points, so that's pretty good. And I feel like Stetson Bennett is somebody that's a bit actually underrated.
Oh, Nathan is not a Rams fan, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
Nathan refers to himself in the third. Nathan refers to himself in the third person.
I thought you were a Rams fan because I know
man thinks he's the Rock.
You've messaged him about Cooper Kupp before, and my team did have a rookie. Are you a Panthers fan or a Texans fan?
I can see why he's not
a Texans fan. I'm so sorry. Another bit of news that has gone under the radar. Joe Mixon has been found not guilty of an aggravated menacing charge stemming from an alleged incident in downtown Cincinnati not so long ago. So that's good. That's another black eye for the league, which didn't actually happen.
Well, as you talk about that, I'll go for somebody that has been suspended 6 games. Ex-49er Charles Omenihu has been suspended for the first 6 games due to violating the personal conduct. Oh, he's a Saints fan, and they had Jake Hayner play.
Another Saints fan.
So I'm not sure if you remember, but we talked about this in January, just before the playoffs. Charles Omenihu had a domestic violence claim, and the Niners basically brushed it off, said it was fine. He played in all the playoff games, but after getting a 2-year, $60 million deal with the Chiefs, he will now miss the first 6 games.
Oh, well, I mean, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. against the Chiefs, not having him play. But we'll come to that when we come to that. I really don't want the Chiefs to win another Super Bowl, man. It would literally be the worst thing to happen in the world.
Yes.
So should we segue that on to something that's happened kind of Chiefs related?
All right, hold on,
Yes.
hold on, because I've got the sound clip popped up. I didn't think this would become like a regular segment, but because of just how the world works. Did we hear that?
I did, yeah, I did. Law and Order.
The dark side of football, ladies and gents. Your weekly update about all the horrible, unfortunate, tragic things that are all happening in the world of the NFL. So, hold on. Oh no! Oh no! Where's he gone? Here we go. There we go. Here's my notes up on him. Okay. So, you might have heard earlier on in the season, and I think we talked about it very, very briefly, that there is a very well-known Kansas City fan, and it's not Jackson Mahomes because he is currently waiting to be put away as well. But one Chiefs super fan is actually now being put away. You might have seen him at certain games when he was actually, allowed to be on camera. Chiefs-aholic. He used to turn up to every Chiefs game in like a full Teen Wolf werewolf costume with like Kansas City Chiefs paraphernalia all over, with like jerseys, hats, bags, everything. And he used to like go around. He used to be cheeky. He's quite like a really minor celebrity. He's like a mascot without actually being one. And then he came out really recently that he was actually going around robbing banks in full Chiefs-aholic gear. And when he was arrested, he didn't actually appear to his first court hearing, which then actually allowed the state of Kansas to set a bounty on him. So bounty hunters
Nathan's come up said, "I heard about this guy."
Yeah. So they actually set bounty hunters on him to find him. Now, unless you knew what he looked like, you're not really going to find a guy dressed up as a wolf. But they did catch him. They did bring him back to court, and now he has been indicted on multiple counts of bank robbery, money laundering, across many, many financial institutions. Just looking at this again, he's 29 years old. He was robbing banks, stealing cash through like casinos. He was charged with 19 count indictments returned by a federal grand jury in Kansas City. I say this, I haven't been able to find how long he's going to be put away for, but
you won't have been sentenced yet.
Well, I'm just reading it, but this has been going on. But he stole up to I read it in the article as well. I wrote it in my notes. Up to from one casino, he stole $100,000. And he actually was originally put on an ankle monitor, which he then removed to attend the Super Bowl. Amazing. So again, he's been put away. He's done. Poor Chiefs Superholic. Maybe we'll get son of Chiefsaholic to carry on his legacy in many years to come. We might even get like a couple of sequels out of it. Are we ready for news number 2, gents?
I just like the name of the segment. I do. I wonder where it was pinched from.
I know you've called it. You've already put in the chat what piece of news number 2 is, but I've actually forgotten. So I'm quite looking forward.
Okay, that's fine. Piece number 2. In recent years, we've been granted with lots of different American football media, from things like Friday Night Lights, which was a huge film, but also a huge TV show as well. We've got things like, what's that? American Hero that came out last year, the Kurt Warner story that nobody saw.
Oh, that was so good, American Underdog.
That's the one. Nobody
I really
saw
enjoyed
it.
that.
But you're going to say Blue Mountain State then?
Blue Mountain State was an institution for me at university. Again, it was okay, but there's only so much they can talk about because legally they couldn't talk about a lot of American football stuff or use a lot of the footage. Yeah. But that's a different story in itself. That's problems that you have with like licensing. And then there's that 30 for Brady? Or was that Brady film that came out about the old days?
80 for
Brady, the film about like
I have to admit, I watched that on the plane on the way back from America.
Any good?
Nothing happens.
Oh, there we go. But he wins the Super Bowl at the end.
It's 2 hours of like nothing happening.
But I think in recent times, the biggest American football film that has not just blown up in terms of popularity, but also
I remember
been
what we're
able to
talking about now.
translate over into the UK as well was a very famous film called The Blind Side. I saw it at the cinema when it came out, and I loved it. I own it on DVD. I've shown it in lessons. I've used it as well throughout like PHSE stuff. I've referenced it in some assemblies that I've done in the past as well.
I mean,
So
Sandra Bullock won an Oscar for it.
and that's what I'm getting to. Like Sandra Bullock that year, all right, she won an Oscar for her role in The Blind Side, and she also won a Raspberry Award for a film that she did called All About Steve. But she's more fondly remembered for her role in The Blind Side, and she is phenomenal in that story. So if you don't know the film or know the story, it's a biopic of Michael Oher, who was a tackle in the NFL for 7 seasons, and he won a Super Bowl with your Baltimore Ravens, Shano.
He did
And he
indeed.
also played in another Super Bowl game where he was playing for the Panthers at that time, and it kind of talks about how he was adopted by this family and in the Deep South, and how they looked after him, how they provided for him, and they kind of like mentored him into getting into college and then achieving his dream into the NFL. And it's a really good feel-good moment. I don't buy into the whole white savior thing that a lot of people even then talked about, but it's just a really, really good film. And when you think about films and biopics, you also have to take into account that there always is some creative licensing. Now, when I say this, there's been criticisms. One of my favorite ever films is Remember the Titans. It's a great film. It's a great story. However, there's elements in that story that is taken completely out, being added in, told out of sequence. And players since then, like the team is based around, have said that Coach Boone, played by the amazing Denzel Washington, was nothing like that. He was actually just a mean old man even then. He wasn't warm. He wasn't energetic. He wasn't Denzel Washington. He was just a mean, horrible man. So that perception. One of my favorite American football films as well is a film called Invincible, Vince Papale, where he was a teacher and he managed to get himself onto the Philadelphia Eagles team and played in the AFC Championship game. And the film ends with him scoring a kick return touchdown. That never happened. Like even the footage that they use at the end of the film isn't Vince Papale. It's someone else. They changed the number on the back. That's not Vince Papale. He never scored a touchdown for the Eagles. So the creative licensing that they changed in those films actually helped tell the story, helped tell the better message, but it's not necessarily a reflection of those people. What's come out, though, is Michael Oher has, since retiring from football, has now decided, or he's done enough research into it, that he's actually going to sue the Tui family, the family that adopted him in real life as well as in the film, for any of the royalties that they made off the back of his story, because he's claimed that they never actually legally adopted him and they took a lot of money out of his pocket in order to protect him as they were nurturing him.
He said he'd never seen a cent from the movie.
Yes, and can I just say this as well from like a media point of view as well? There was a writer's strike going on, and the film itself is actually based on a book by Michael Lewis, who actually wrote the biopic of it. So he wrote the book The Blind Side that the film is based on. And Michael Oher's argument is that the Tui family have made millions of dollars off of that film. I can see that they possibly could have, but also from the writer's strike, again, it's a big thing that's going on in the world right now. Writers and script writers, and even if you sell your story, they don't make a lot of money. That's why writers continuously have to write. You don't just write one story and never go again. That's why Stephen King writes hundreds, because you can't just write one story and live off the back of it.
Unless you're J.K. Rowling.
Unless you're J.K. Rowling, but J.K. Rowling sold the story to Warner Brothers with creative control. So she had a fat chunk of not just the books that she sold, but also the receipts from the movies, receipts from the games, receipts from the merchandise. She didn't just sell the Harry Potter IP. She sold the whole creativeness and merchandise off it as well. So from what I'm gathering is that Michael Oher's kind of gone, well, you lied to me as a kid and you've made this much money off the back of me. And they've gone, we actually didn't, and we don't understand where this has all come from. I can see both sides of it. I know Michael Ower's always had a massive gripe with how he's portrayed in the film, where he's been portrayed as quite simple, a bit of a dullard, when in reality he's actually quite articulate, he's quite smart, he's quite witty. So I can understand him not liking that portrayal, because that portrayal never really sat well with me, knowing who he was in the NFL and how he was presented there. It didn't seem like he was remotely in the same universe. But it's quite a shame that it's come down to this, because like I said off air, I've been reading both sides of the story, and I'm kind of leaning towards Michael Lewis, who wrote the book that the film is based off of. And he's just kind of gone, I was the middleman in this. I can assure you that the Tui family didn't make as much money, but even then he approached Michael Ower to, offer to, pay him certain royalties for him. And Michael Ower apparently going by it, turned it down and actually wanted the family to make the money off of the film and the story, whilst he only made money from his NFL career. The Tuies were also independently rich. So it's not like they solely made their fortune off of the back of Michael Ower's story. This isn't like a Johnny Manziel situation where he lied about his family being ridiculously rich. The Tui family owned a ridiculous amount of fast food joints, franchises in the area that they were in. They owned multiple I think it was like McDonald's, Burger King, and KFC and Wendy's franchises that they owned and operated. I think they owned up to like 40 at one point. I think they've scaled back down to about like 19, 18 from what I was able to gather. So it's not like they rely solely on him for their own personal family income. So I don't really understand Michael Ower. Maybe he's realized in hindsight he probably should have made more money off the film that was released over 10 years ago based on his life. We don't really know what his financial situation is now. Or maybe it's just hindsight's wonderful because he's in his 30s and he's gone, oh, there's a film that's completely wrong about my life that's out, that's making a lot of money. Sandra Bullock won an Oscar for it. No one's talking about my story. They're all talking about how she was the white savior that came in and helped me achieve what was ultimately my dream. I think that's basically what it might come down to, just him controlling the narrative of his own life.
So you've done a lot more research into this than I have.
Yes.
All I was aware of is that Michael Oher was suing the Tui family.
He's suing them for apparently royalties that they made off of his story. Yes. And from a lot of things that I've been able to research, he's been waiting on this since about 2017, since he retired. I can't remember when he got drafted, but I know he was in the NFL for 7 years. So I'm just going to go based off the back of that. So he's been following this situation for nearly 6 years now. And he said that the Tui family is still making money off of the back of his story. I find that really, really difficult to believe, because money for writers in Hollywood is pittance. They don't make a lot of money. Royalties on residuals. Shane, you might relate to this. There's wrestlers in the WWE, yes, that still get a check every year from Vince McMahon or Endeavor now, from past royalties from things that they were in. And every single year that check, that number goes down and down and down, because I think I was watching something with Maven in recently where he got a check for some royalties of things that he was in, and it was a single figure. I think might have been like $8 that he got paid for the year. So residuals off of a film that came out a long time ago now, I don't think they're going to be making a lot of money. And they were an independently rich family to begin with. That's why they lived in the area that they did. That's why their kids went to that particular school, because they could afford it. That's why they could afford to take Michael Ower in, whether or not they legally adopted him or not. So I think what it might come down to, and I think when this blows over and settles itself out, I think this might be Michael Ower wanting to take back the narrative of his life and actually wanting to present what he was actually like, as opposed to what Hollywood presented him as.
And if he gets a couple of quid in the process, happy
and
days,
if he gets a couple of quid. So yeah, maybe he might come out where it's like a retelling of his story, or a Netflix special, or Blindside 2, he gets drafted into the NFL, like something like that, because his story continued past that film. Like, he won that Super Bowl. Like, he did. So it's not like it was just like, I remember the times where Vince Papale, or even like an American Underdog, where it actually did end with Kurt Warner becoming a Super Bowl champion and becoming a Hall of Famer. Michael Ower might not be in the Hall of Fame, but he has that Super Bowl ring. He has that ring.
He does.
He managed to give. He is the reason Joe Flacco has a Super Bowl. Let's be honest. Like, he is the reason Flacco has that Super Bowl.
Let's not talk about that Super Bowl.
I know, but I'm just saying. But that's why he won his Super Bowl ring. So it might just be him trying to control his narrative. Now I know I've gone on for it. It was just something since it popped up, and I was just being a film guy, being a biopic guy, wanting to know a little bit more about
being a media teacher.
Being a media teacher as well. I always teach about perception versus reality. And this is why I'm convinced it's about him claiming back his narrative, because if people see things a certain way, and if you show them a film and you say, based on true events, or this happened on a true story, this is what actually happened, people will go away, kids will go away, fans will go away and go, oh, well, that's how that happened. That's exactly how that happened. Even though we could say like a disclaimer, like based on true, it always makes me laugh. Texas Chainsaw Massacre film opens up based on true events. Wrong, never happened. They just said that. They put that in the beginning of the film. They put that thing at the beginning of the film to draw people in, thinking, oh, if it's based on true story, oh, this is going to be really intense. So if you just subtle wording just to manipulate audiences, and I think he genuinely wants people to know what the real Michael O is. Do not be surprised in a year if he gets a Netflix documentary. Don't be surprised.
So is there anything?
We shall watch this space on that one.
Anything else you guys want to talk about? Because there's one more thing I want to say, but I want to end it.
All I'm going to say is, Phil, 9 days. That's all it is. 9 days. That's all I'm going to say.
We'll organise when we're going to meet up. And it's going to be sick. There's going to be like a couple of YouTube celebrities there.
Is this Clash the WWE thing at Wembley?
No, we're going all in. It's not WWE. It's all elite wrestling, baby.
AEW,
I'm going to sit in the stadium and I'm going to boo Kenny Omega. I'm going to boo the Young Bucks. I was just saying
that I wanted a crutch. That's all I was going to say. I just want to hug you. That's all I was going to say. Actually meet you in public for the first time.
Yeah, Phil, I met you in public at the Wembley game last year.
And I gave you a big fat hug as well, literally.
Yes.
It's great.
I
wish we had more time. I actually wish we had more time.
The last thing I want to say is I hope everybody enjoys the new Madden that comes out tonight for those that didn't pre-order it.
I put this on a WhatsApp group, right? And I'm really vexed for this because normally every year, it's actually every other year I do even years FIFA, odd years Madden. Okay, but like this year I thought, well, there's no FIFA anymore. I'm not going to get EA FC 24 because no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to commit to Madden. And I thought, well,
yes, Popeth is going as well. Look, I dropped a message. Drop a message, but we have a pint if you want. No worries.
But I went onto the PlayStation store, right, and I went, I won't get Madden 24 because it's going to be it's going to be full price. But what I might do until Christmas, I'll download Madden 23, play that because I bought Madden 22, so I'll just get Madden 23. I can play Brock Purdy, get the 49ers to win the Super Bowl again, all that crap. I can update, I can manually change the rosters to make it kind of like up to date and everything. And then I was like, okay, well, Madden 24 is £69. Okay, it's a brand new game, whatevs. Madden 23, £59. Okay,
that's ridiculous.
I was like, that might be because it doesn't officially come out. Madden 24 doesn't officially come out.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll literally look Friday or Saturday morning or Sunday when I get around to doing it next.
But like, if you have Game Pass, like I do, it's on Game Pass. Madden 23.
What Madden 23? I was going to say, yeah.
Played last night.
I did have Game Pass, but I unsubscribed from it because I wasn't using it.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
I live on it.
This is EA Game Pass, not NFL Game Pass, because I still have NFL Game Pass. I think it's incredible.
Oh yeah, and we've run over this week.
Without going into,
we've run over this week. There's definitely, I want to talk about that next week. We've run over a little bit this week, but I definitely want to cover that next week because Ravens cornerbacks are dropping like the zone subscribers.
Oh.
Anyway, so I think that's a good place to wrap up this week. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. We'll be back.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Cheers, guys.
Week as a threesome because Ollie is still not going to be with us.
GCSEs next week, gents. GCSEs.
So I guess the only thing to say is he's not here is stay safe.
And I'll see you later.